Hello, my name is Heath Burkles. This is the SAF Podcast. The Self Advocacy Federation is an Edmonton-based organization based on people with disabilities and their allies who get together to discuss the issues facing people with disabilities. We are an organization that helps people understand their rights and show them how to stand up for themselves. And we are here to educate, advocate on various topics in the disability community life in Alberta. Today's topic is AISH 101. So what does AISH stand for? Assured Income for the Severely Handicapped. It is a program that provides financial and health benefits to eligible adult Albertans with a permanent medical condition that prevents them from earning a living. As of recording, there are about 70,000 Albertans who receive AISH from the program. On today's podcast, there will be 2 interviews. The first will be an interview by self-advocate Sarah Symington with an AISH recipient, followed by an interview with self-advocate Amy Park with an AISH specialist. For our first interview, we are going to look into the lived experience of applying and living on AISH. As a disclaimer, as our podcast is to educate and advocate, the experience of the interviewee may be different from your own. This is based on their lived knowledge, so the listener can be better informed and prevent some myths and misinformation.
Hello, my name is Sarah Symington. I am part of the Self Advocacy Federation in Edmonton, and I am on the committee's steering committee. I look forward to interviewing a fellow self-advocate from Calgary, Mary Samani. Mary will be letting us know what the life of being on AISH is like. Thank you for being here, Mary. To start off, where does your AISH journey begin?
My name's Mary, and I'm an AISH recipient. Back in 2006, when I applied for AISH, I had both a physical and mental disability that was invisible. So when I applied for AISH, in addition to doing the doctor's application, AISH intake form, I did a 16-hour psychological test, and I've been on AISH ever since. AISH has helped me out quite a bit. I have my own place that I can rent. However, it doesn't give me very much in terms of quality of life. I can't afford very much. I've always asked for help. The rent is subsidized. I get the subsidized low-income bus pass. Occasionally I get free food just to help cover everything, cover the costs that I need to pay for.
How long was the test?
Yeah, the 16-hour psychological test.
What did you do to get yourself ready for such a long test?
Well, AISH paid for it on my behalf, so that was kind of good, but it is a very long test and kind of just bit the bullet and did it over the course of a weekend. Had my dad helped me do that test, which was kind of cruel and inhumane, I found, partly because both of us were really sick at that time, and to do a 16-hour test was a lot.
Thank you, Mary. I would like to know what the application for AISH was like for you.
First of all, I had to convince myself to apply for AISH because I didn't want to apply based on the name of the program because I didn't want to be labeled as severely disabled. Then I had to work with a coach to kind of help me calm down my temper so that I could apply for the AISH program. And then I had worked with a counselor who was familiar with the AISH program to help me apply for it, and a doctor as well.
How long did it take you to go through all the coaching and counseling?
Probably almost a month.
Did you have a job before you applied for AISH?
I was working as an after-school recreation leader for kids.
Were you able to keep your job after getting onto AISH?
Yes, I kept most of it actually.
What are some of the myths and scary things that might stop people from applying for AISH?
Basically, the reason I had a hard time because I heard a lot of horror stories about the AISH program prior to it, about people being on it, not liking it, not having enough income, getting penalized for every time they try to get income, and then just the label of being severely disabled. I didn't want to be labeled like that because of all the stigma that society has placed on people when they are labeled as severely disabled, like they can't do anything, they're lazy, and all that, and they're dumb.
Can you tell me more about the label of being on AISH?
Well, AISH as a label does not define me, but it does help me get what I need done. I get the stuff that I need, like transportation, rent, food, and all that stuff.
What else do you feel is misunderstood about people who receive AISH?
They think that AISH is the most generous program in Canada for social assistance. While it is the most generous program in Canada that I can see, that I know of, it's still not enough. Like without additional supports, people still can't afford things like rent, food, and all the other stuff that I mentioned before. And I think too that the label severely disabled also kind of stigmatizes what people with disabilities can and cannot do.
How is and has your AISH been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic?
It's made it harder to stretch the dollar. So like because I'm at risk of getting COVID-19 and not being able to heal from it. I have to order everything online, which costs more in the long run. A lot of the stores add $2 on each item, so like it costs more than it does to buy stuff in store. And then the additional cost of all the PPE gear, the mask and the hand sanitizer too, is making the money go away as well.
With all these added costs, how much did that affect your budget?
It basically blew the budget.
What do you mean by blew the budget?
Because I am taking care of my mom and dad, so I'm currently not at my place very much. I had to cancel the internet and the electrical bill, the telephone and the electrical bill, just to be able to make it.
Those are some hard choices to make.
Well, that part was surprising that I had to do all that, but at the same time, I don't regret doing it either. Kind of been learning to give and take, basically. And I'm still learning.
Could you expand on that in learning as a self-advocate, Mary? How do you feel your experiences contribute to the disability community? Or what do you feel you were learning from the disability community during this pandemic?
From my working with an agency that does work with people in poverty, I've learned a lot during this pandemic from people. Learned that poverty is actually worse than what I originally thought. And that even though AISH is not perfect, it's still better than nothing. But because it's not perfect, I think everything else kind of falls underneath it too. Sometimes because AISH isn't like at the living wage, income support has a hard time getting to that part too. It kind of, AISH, a lot of people see AISH as an example of being better than income support, but it's still not good enough.
Can you give me some examples of what you mean on what you've learned about poverty?
Well, basically the absolute poverty where no one has any income. There's quite a few people that fall in that category that they don't qualify for income support or for AISH or for the emergency benefit. And they're just trying to get by. And then the different federal funded programs like CPP and OAS, and then AISH and income supports.
Thank you, Mary. Can you let me know a little bit more about Canadian Pension Plan D?
I do know about it a little bit, not a whole lot. I know that a lot of people on AISH are being asked to apply for CPPD, not really understanding that their AISH will be affected when they get CPPD, and they may end up having a little less money than what they have now.
Wow.
It's kind of just basically the government's way of sharing the load of what costs for them for people on AISH with CPP. If the government fails to support the AISH program and to keep people in it, they'll usually end up in other systems that cost more, like jails and hospitals and other places where they don't need to be necessarily, just because they're not getting their daily living needs met.
Thank you so much, Mary Savani, for coming in for this interview. After a brief break, we will have our next interview with interviewer and fellow self-advocate Amy Park with AISH application specialist.
Hello, my name is Amy Park. I am an outspoken health advocate who cares deeply about helping others in my community. Today, as your second interviewer, I am grateful to be here interviewing Teresa Jackson, who works for Voices of Albertans with Disabilities, or VAD, as an AISH application specialist. What would happen to a person's AISH income if they were to marry another person also on AISH?
The family would fall under the family exemption. Family exemption is the first $2,612 of the applicant and their partner's combined net employment income, and it is fully exempt. Any amount above that, up to $3,349, is 50% exempt to a maximum of $2,981.
Is the employment income exemption different from the family employment income exemption? Say if I am just getting married but do not have dependent children and we are both receiving AISH.
This would fall under the family exemption, as in the above example. Family exemption, the first $2,612 of the applicant and their partner's combined net employment income is fully exempt. Any amount above that, up to $3,349, is 50% exempt to a maximum of $2,981. Please contact your AISH worker for any more information about getting married and your personal circumstances.
Does the value of what a person applying for AISH owns as property before receiving AISH affect their application? How much could they have?
If you have never been employed, check no and go to Section 7.
Does the value of what a person applying for AISH owns as property before receiving AISH affect their application? How much could they have?
Assets are items of value like cash, investments, property, and vehicles that you or your spouse or partner have. Some exempt assets, meaning they are not counted, include things like a home or quarter section you live in, a vehicle or second vehicle adapted for a disability, a registered disability savings plan or RDSP, or a trust. Non-exempt assets cannot be worth more than $100,000 when they are added together and include cash, checkings or saving accounts, tax-free savings account, TFSA, registered retirement savings account plans, RRSP, cash inheritances, recreational property or home, recreational vehicle. When you receive money that AISH does not consider income, you have 365 days to invest it in an exempt asset, or it will be counted as a non-exempt asset. This may include an inheritance, a gift, funds from selling the home or quarter section that you lived and AISH already considered exempt, funds from selling your main or adapted vehicle, AISH already considered exempt, funds from an insurance payout to cover damages to or loss of your main home or vehicle that AISH already considered exempt.
What is a registered disability savings plan, or RDSP?
A registered disability savings plan, or RDSP, is a saving plan intended to help parents and others save for the long-term financial security of a person who is eligible for the disability tax credit. Contributions to an RDSP are not tax deductible and can be made until the end of the year in which the beneficiary turns 59. Contributions that are withdrawn are not included as income to the beneficiary when paid out of an RDSP. However, the Canada Disability Savings Grant, the Canada Disability Savings Bond, investment income earned in the plan, and the proceeds from rollovers are included in the beneficiary's income for tax purposes when they are paid out of the RDSP.
What is a Hansen Trust, and is it different from an RDSP?
The most well-known and commonly used trust among families of people with disabilities is the Absolute Discretionary Trust, or more commonly known as the Hansen Trust. It is a special type of trust arrangement in which the beneficiary is considered not to have any legal claim to the property held in trust, and therefore the property is not considered an asset of the beneficiary when determining eligibility. It should be noted a Hansen Trust can take a number of forms and can be used in a respect of wide variety of assets. For example, a Hansen Trust may be a testamentary in nature, meaning that is included in a will or trust deed that takes effect only in the death of a person establishing the trust. It may be inter vivos, meaning that it takes effect during the life of the settler. It may hold a residential property as a type of housing trust, or it may hold cash or investments.
Can my guardian and I begin the process of filling in the AISH application form before I turn 18?
Although AISH legislation requires a person to be 18 years old to benefit, applications are accepted up to 6 months before an applicant turns 18 years of age. Starting the application process allows the applicants who are eligible for the program to begin receiving benefits once they turned 18. Early notification supports transition planning for adulthood and helps ensure that ineligible applicants have time to explore other options.
During the COVID-19 pandemic, if I start getting AISH benefit, is there any eligibility for personal benefit that go above and beyond the income I get from AISH? How much for and how often can I be eligible?
AISH is a provincial program and does not have any extra COVID benefits. Please talk to your caseworker to find out what list of benefits is not covered by CORE and how to apply for special benefits. Each person's circumstance is different. Your caseworker will determine if you're eligible.
During the COVID-19 pandemic, if I start getting AISH benefit, is there any eligibility for personal benefit that go above and beyond the income I get from AISH? How much for and how often can I be eligible?
AISH is a provincial program and does not have any extra COVID benefits. Please talk to your caseworker to find out what list of benefits is not covered by CORE and how to apply for special benefits. Each person's circumstance is different. Your caseworker will determine if you're eligible.
Thank you so much, Teresa, for coming in for the interview.
This brings us to the end of our podcast for SAF the Podcast on AISH. To keep up to date with what is going on with the SAF the Podcast or our advocacy community, our website is, and with no spaces, www.selfadvocacyfederation.ca. You can also visit us on Facebook at Self Advocacy Federation. You can also access our YouTube version of the SAF the Podcast on AISH to get additional information and links to some of our topics and additional topics that we talked about today. As a parting note, my friends, we are all delighted that whether you are out and about, or you're in the comfort of your home, or wherever your adventures are taking you, we are delighted you took a part of your day to listen to our podcast. It is important for all of us to see ourselves in the best light mentally and physically. We will put some resources on our YouTube version of the SAF the Podcast for some additional mental health resources in Alberta. Thank you again. Until next time.